Welcome to my lecture, Social Sustainability in Residential Housing in Vienna. I called it From the Household to the Housing to the Urban Quarter because this is also, let's say, the development of social sustainability in residential housing in Vienna since it was born, let's say, since 2009. And here you can see an example for a big residential housing. It's called Kabelnhofe, and it's close to the SMZ Ost, which is a really big hospital in Vienna in the 22nd district. And this Kabelnhof was built on a ground where before was or the staff of this hospital was living, or some staff, yeah. Some care people who do care work. Markus already introduced me. My name is Sonja Gruber. I'm a sociologist and a social anthropologist, and I'm working as a consultant for social sustainability for property developers mostly since 2009. But I have also other focal points in my work. So one focal point is sociology of space. I also do social analysis of public spaces, and I'm also involved in the moderation of participation processes, especially in the field of building and renovating schools, but building and renovating in a pedagogical, innovative way. And I also do accompanying research of science communication activities. I have a focus on gardening projects. And as Marco said, I used to work in the social field for a long time in a women's shelter, but also like I was a youth worker for several years. And that's also...
I don't put the micro on.
What? Was this a question? Oops. No.
No, I think this just was a non-turn of microphone.
Okay, and the pictures, you will see them later again. This is at the Kabelnhof. They have a big, really big and very nice community room for gathering for the people who live there. Yeah, and can you see my pointer? I don't know. But the left picture, there's one person totally in black with glasses and the hand up, that's me. And we had a big gathering at the beginning when the people moved in, and we talked about social life and what people wanted from social life in the residential housing, and started planning. Yeah, and there is also on the right picture you can see a lady. Can't point her out now. She's from the property management, and which is really very nice in this project that we really can cooperate with the property management very well. That's not always the case. So what I want to do today, I want to give a short history of so-called social sustainability in residential building of the city of Vienna, and also talk or present a little bit the assessment criteria so that you can know them at least, yeah. Then I also want you to give some examples for moderation, for the moderation of the process. We call it the process of settlement. For those who know German, it's Besiedelungsbegleitung, management of settlement, process of settlement. And if we have time, I want to point the intersection between planning and building and social sustainability and the process of settlement when people actually move in. Yes, and maybe also talk about some challenges for social sustainability today. And the picture you see here, it's another urban quarter which is developed now. People move in already or live there already since, let's say, half a year, but still some buildings are being built, and it's called Neu Leopoldau. Yes, and here you can see in the center 6 buildings, and we started the moderation of the process settlement recently, or let's say a couple of months ago. You always can ask me, okay? Or say some comments. Yes, in Vienna, it's if you want public money, public sponsorship, public facilitation, yeah, as a property development. If you want public sponsorship, yeah, then you have to, as a property developer, then you have to participate in competitions, yeah, so-called Bauträgerwettbewerbe, and this is since 1995. Yeah, and you had to you had to present your projects and present them the architecture, the economy, and the ecology. And what could be seen then was that the focus was always like on the flats, and the flats were very much okay, but certain spaces that are important for, let's say, the social living together, they were neglected. And it's like spaces like staircases or storage rooms for baby carriages or bikes, or also community rooms which were placed at the end of the end and very dark, without toilets or without windows and so on, so they weren't used. Yeah, and so out of these experiences, they introduced the so-called 4th column of social sustainability. The first column is architecture, the second economy, the third ecology, and now since 2009, there's this column of social sustainability. It was introduced in these competitions. And so now you have to present your project also in this field. What can your project, what does it do for community building, for living together, for a neighborhood, for the people who live there. And what's really interesting is that this 4th column, the social sustainability, changed the focus, and now you're looking more at daily routines now let's say, before, when they developed residential housing, the focus was more on a daily routine where paid work is in the center. So you live there, you want to have a nice flat, and in the morning you leave the flat, you go to your work, and in the evening you come back. And so the important thing is the flat, and that this is a nice place. And with the social sustainability, the focus changed on a daily routine where in the center is also care work, yeah. So where care work plays an important role. If you have to take care of children, you bring them to the school, to the kindergarten, you pick them up, you take care of old people, you do the shopping, you and so on, yeah. So this is a main change in the focus that the social sustainability brought. And so these are, I just picked up some of the most important criteria for social sustainability. I just have a quick look. Yeah, important is, and the jury looks at this. Yeah, if the housing, the residential housing is or its architecture is planned in a way so that it's suitable for daily routines. Yeah, so it's also, if you look at flats, it's that it needs flexible floor plans, that you have enough storage space in the room, in the flat. Yeah, also in the building, but also in a flat, that you have the possibility to furnish a flat with standard furniture, so that you can go to, let's say, IKEA and buy just some furniture there, and you don't have to buy cheap, so very expensive, especially for your flat-made furnitures. And that there is enough space for strollers and bikes close to the flat. Yeah. And then one criteria is also Wohnen in Gemeinschaft, living in a community, and that's also where where my role is very important, that you have good spaces indoors and outdoors. Indoors like community rooms, outdoors the public space around, yeah, where people can meet, yeah, in places, community rooms, and that they have possibilities to create the surroundings, yeah, to participate in creating the surroundings, and that the buildings are planned in a way that there are small neighborhoods possible. It's called, because the people, yeah, they think if there's too many people and it's they're afraid of anonymity, so it's better if, like, it's also a question about how many staircases do I have, how many flats are connected to this staircase, and if it's too big, then they're afraid it's too anonymous. And if it's small, if it's only some flats, then people will get to know each other. And here you can see in a picture that was a workshop we did on parkour, free running. This is in the outdoor space of Floresdorf. Nariman Mansouri knows it very well because he planned this residential housing, and this is outside, and we did a parkour workshops with children living there, and it's not only children from there, but also in the background you can see the big highway, yeah, and underneath the highway there's sports places for young children, or not for youngsters, yeah, like baseball, all kind of ball games, yeah. So they also come here and use, for example, this free running, this parkour. And sometimes people who live here don't want that, they're afraid of youngsters, and so we try to bring them together so that they get to know each other. Other criteria for social sustainability, yeah, it's like housing for changing requirements, so that you can grow old in a flat, that it can adapt to your different needs in different lifetimes. When you have children, when children 1, 2, or 3, and when they move out, so that yeah, they can adapt to it, the flats, to the needs of the people living in there. It's also important in Vienna's housing policy that there is a social diversity of the people living there, and they get it, for example, through flats in different sizes, so that not only children, families with many children all live together, but that also families without children, single parents, and so on live together and get to know each other, so that it's a diverse surrounding. Yeah, housing for different dwelling forms, and also, and this is especially with Corona, it got more important, but it was a topic already before, like possibilities to combine living and working in your flat, or at least in your residential housing. Yeah, some residential housings have co-working spaces you can rent, but also some have community rooms that can be used not like every day and the whole day, but for some hours as home home office. Thank you. Yes, and also social. One criteria is also minimizing costs through planning, so that living or doesn't get too expensive. Yeah. So economic floor plans and house organization, like how many stairs and how are they situated, how many lifts, compact building, and so on. Just that you know, you have a whole list of criteria and you have to try to fulfill. And when you have to write, you have to present in front of the jury what your plans are for social sustainability, and you have to also write it down, and that's the criteria for writing and presenting. Okay, the competition is one step. Yeah, if you win the competition, then it needs mostly 2 years until the building is really built and people can move in. And if you have won the competition, then you will do the moderation or management during the process of settlement. So it's two different parts. The first is to participate in the competition. The second is when you win, you start with social processes when people move in. And there are different consultants, of course, like me. I'm a very small office, but I also do this since the beginning of the fourth column. So I'm also there participating for a long time already. There's bigger offices who have really like, employees to work on this field. And some of those consultants start before people move in. Yeah, they work with them already, like about the wishes for neighborhood, for the community rooms, and so on. And some start when people actually move in. Yeah, and there's also so-called Baugruppen. That's a group of people that really plans. Yeah. Or is participating in the process of planning a building, yeah, from the beginning on. And they are moderated, and it's a really long process, yeah. And I think those Baugruppen are really important, but it's a program for mostly for kind of a minority, people who really have a lot of social capital. As Bourdieu would say, they must have time. Sometimes they have to have social resources. For example, we had this topic with single parents who said, we can't do this. We don't have that much time. We don't have these social resources. And maybe until our project is built, I'm not single anymore. Yeah. So, and my focus today is I don't work so very much with Baugruppen. I mostly work with people who just move in, yeah. And normally 2/3 of the flats are given to the people through Wiener Wohnen, yeah. It's a platform for flats for people, for people who have the right to get these supposed cheaper flats, and so they don't know. They only look at the flat and see if they like it or not. Maybe they look at the surrounding, but they don't have a lot of information before. Normally, they also don't have a lot of ideas or wishes about how to live in the neighborhood, because they were just looking for a flat. Okay. That's about the fourth column of social sustainability. And now I want to introduce you to some projects. And before, I want to ask if there's any questions. Also from Markus or Nariman. No? Are you here still?
Sonja, I think it's quite clear what you explained. So I'm not having any questions, but Nariman, how do you think?
I also know any question, but I think the question will come at the end of the presentation.
Okay, good. If it's boring, also tell me, okay? Okay, I will present you first the Kabelnhof. You have seen the pictures before. It's a really big housing, residential housing with more than 400 flats, yeah, and on 4 stairs and stairs. And there's also not only one property developer, but 3, yeah. There's a homepage, www.wohnenimkabelnhof.at, and here you can see more pictures, not like photos, but yeah, plans a little bit, not too much, yeah, but you can get information. And yes, for the community, there is one small community room in every at every stair, and small means like 25 square meters for every stair, and it's combined with no, what is it called? Washraum, where you can laundry. Sorry, it's combined with a laundry. So if you go there, you can use the laundry and you can also use the community room. And there's one really big community room, about 150 square meters, where you also have a kitchen and yeah. And we started our moderation in autumn 2019. It was supposed to be about 2.5 years. Now it's 19, 20, 21. Yeah, okay. We are not in the middle. We are kind of at the end already. We did a lot there, but we also had a big gap between like kind of a stop because of Corona. Yes, we were a team, or we are a team. It's me and my colleagues from the landscape planning office, Tilia, Susanne, and Heide. So we all together have a lot of experience in participation projects and in urban quarter management. For example, Tilia was part of the Gebietsbetreuung, the urban quarter management in Wien, Floridsdorf some years ago. And what we did, people moved in. We got, which is really important. What is really important is to get the people's email addresses here, so that you have that you can address them and write them. And here we had the help of the property management, because they really managed that the people would, when they went to the property management to sign the contract for the flat, they also gave their addresses, email addresses. So we had we still have really good and huge email, yeah, all the emails of nearly everybody living there. And we started immediately after they moved in with a big with a get together, yeah, Willkommensfest. It was cold outside. It was like I think the 13th of December in 2019. Some of the people have not moved in yet. Others were still had no bed or no kitchen and so on. And we started, and it was very nice because really, as you saw before on the pictures, really many people came, and they were really very interested about to getting to know each other, and also about interested to get some information about the Besiedelungsbegleitung, the moderation of the development process, and also about the team. Yeah, we also did a survey with the residents to get to know better who is going to move in. Is it mostly young people, older people, people with children, and so on? What are the interests, yeah, of the people moving in? We'll see a little bit later then. Yes, and at this get together, we were also gathering the ideas and wishes of the people for their neighborhood and for the social life in this residential building. And then out of this, there emerged some groups, yeah, with ideas for the diverse small community rooms. And so we did workshops with always small groups of people, like one room that's mostly the case, yeah. One group was parents with children, and one room became a children's room. So we did a workshop with this group. At the starting point, it will be maybe 20 people, let's say. Not everybody with a child, yeah. And so we gathered ideas what they want to do there. We gathered ideas about what furniture does it need for the playground for children, and so on. And then we got some furnitures from the people who gave it to the children's room, and we also bought some more furniture, or maybe, let's say, also like games and plays for the children's room. And we also have like money for buying things we bought. For example, tennis table, tennis table, or ping. What is it? I don't know. Oops. Yes, and the groups that started were playground for children, and also fitness, and an open library, and this room with table tennis, which is also a room where you still can. It's an open room because there's a lot of space still, and you can also, if there's ideas that come up later, you still have a room that's open for a new idea. And we started with these small groups. We called them initiative groups because they also then did some initiatives where other interested residents could join. Yeah. And they did activities for the residents and with the residents, and we organized together also a big Kabelnhofe festivity. Here you can see again the get-together, the welcoming party. We also did some children's program outside. They were collecting little stones with lighters, so they loved it very much. And we also did some, I have no picture here, but a small fire. So because it was cold outside and there's also a little bit of snow. So yeah, and here you can see we also showed the people what came out with from the questionnaire. So for us, it was interesting that really a lot of very, very young people moved in, that most people moved in alone. Yeah, like 50% of the flats were only for one person. Yeah, maybe you can see it. And it was from these 416 flats, it was 327 questionnaires, which is really a lot. And so we also presented those results to the people so that they know. And of course, from the wishes of the residents is everybody wants to have a good neighborhood. But what was really interesting for us was the real big interest for fitness amongst all the residents. So we also later collected a lot of, or we made kind of a map, which from the neighborhood, not only the Kabelnhof, but bigger, and collected all the fitness possibilities around so that people could use it and had this information. Yeah. And of course, they also said they would like, they had ideas for special activities like games evening, or sing together, or cook, or a flea market. We did that. A food sharing, no, I don't know the word now. The Büchertauschbörse, which is the open library we did, and so on. So here you can see that was the first step. Here's again, what kind of community rooms do we want? So we decided together with the people that one of the small ones should be a playground for children. The photo on the left is the group for the playground for children. One room for fitness and sports. Then one that should be an open library. And there's also a repair shop. So people were also interested in this repair shop. Not shop where you can buy things, but where you can find material and to repair your own stuff. And you could use it to repair your own stuff. Yeah, children. This is very interesting because when we planned the whole residential housing, our thought was it would be great if children were not always dependent to be accompanied by their adults, so that they could go down into outdoors, yeah, and just find other friends to play with, and then in the evening mother or father can call them from upstairs and say, hey, come up, and doesn't have to be with the children always or play with them, but that children can be more independent. And it's very interesting because this really worked very well and very easily and very fast. So the children all know each other. There's also some groups that run around alone and do their own thing. And through the children, also all the parents get to know each other. And there's some groups of different parents, but they all know each other. And they sit around the sand play, for example, the parents, and the children play in or run around and do their own thing. So they can live a very independent life. Yes, and here you can see we did. First, you can see the children's room, yeah, which is here without furniture. Still, there's much more inside now, much more stuff inside. There's a group of parents that feel responsible for this room, yeah. And here they set also activities for parents or people with children, like we made several family picnics outside, yeah. Here you can see the family picnic of some older children that came alone, yeah. And we furnished it together with the residents, also with donations. We helped one woman to establish a baby get together. And yeah, of course, we helped to organize this family picnic so that they also will do it themselves. Okay, there's an open library at Kabelnhofe. We gathered a lot of books and games, and they can be taken and borrowed. And this room is very well used for counseling, for language courses, for learning with children, for photo shootings, small parties, and so on. Then there is a fitness room at Kabelnhofe, and here the start was a little bit difficult because of COVID-19, so you couldn't use it. And it's also important that fitness room is, it's mostly a not furnished room. And just there's a big cupboard, and there's a group because we have Austrian's weightlifting master, yeah, he lives there, and he says, I will start a group for those who want to do weightlifting or fitness in this way. And so they have a cupboard there, and they those who joined him, yeah, they bought some things to lift that can be lifted, but they have to put it into this room so that others that there is not an accident that some of these lifting weights falls down on a children's leg, for example. And you can't put like really fitness machines in there, because then you always have the question as property manager, who is taking care, what is if something happens. So this is what was possible, that the self-organized group with some own cupboard and their weightlifting materials inside there. One room is for table tennis, and it's also info point, yeah, and a swap shop. And there you can also leave leave things if you have enough that you don't need anymore, but maybe that others would be interested into, so you can leave them there. And if nobody takes them, you put it away after some weeks. This also works very well. And then Corona came, so there's the problem, for example, that the big community room that is in the meantime was furnished very well with some donated couches, and also here you can see we got a big dancing mirror from the business who has built the whole Kabelnhofe, yeah, and it could be used for, or it was used for parties and dancing lessons, because we also have professional dancers living at Kabelnhofe, but this room was closed during the first Corona lockdown, and couldn't be used then. And it was interesting for us to see that the biggest, also in other residents, that the big rooms were closed first, and small community rooms maybe were open for a much longer time and were used. For example, the library was especially used during the first and the second lockdown, because children came there to do their homeworks, and there were these language courses and so on. Okay, some activities: morning yoga and Latin American dance. This was what a resident offered. Then we did a garden and balcony workshop. Here you can see photos from the family picnic, and then we did a big flea market. Yeah, so you can also see here some pictures of the flea market, and we did also a sports and games meeting. Here you can also see Lawrence, the founder of the fitness group, the Austrian weightlifting master, in the middle, who is doing his exercises and showing the others how to do. Yeah, boxing for children. We fixed the tennis table together and then played and so on. And that's like a program which is normal in many of the residential housings, and the social moderation of the settlement process. We do, for example, a lot of festivities. This is another residential housing. And here it was interesting. On the left side, you can see somebody playing Hessam and playing an Iranian guitar. Yeah, and he gave a concert because in this housing there were a group of young asylum seekers from Afghanistan. They lived there, and so there were problems between other residents and this group of young asylum seekers, only boys. And so we tried to bring them together, and we did a concert with Persian music. And for example, all the food was done by the Afghani young men, and where they lived. So they gave something to the community, and people got to know each other. Yeah. On the left side, left down, you can see, for example, what we often do at festivities. It's a show of the fire brigade, yeah, where people, here it's especially children, because it's very for them, but it's not only for children. They can try out Feuerlöscher, how to use the thing that you use when there's a fire and you want to distinguish it, fire distinguisher. And so there's fire, of course, everybody wants to see the fire and they can try out this fire distinguisher and distinguish the fire. And they learn how to use it, if, for example, even in an emergency case. Okay, workshops and other activities. Here you can see workshops on the left. This is workshops about a community garden. Then you can also see, like we did, this was in Corona times, like walk and talk, walked around. There is also in one of the settlements, there is a beekeeper we cooperate with, and he brought some bees there so people can learn about beekeeping and help the beekeeper. And we went to see where the bees live now and went to see the whole surrounding. Or we do also we try to get to know people, to know the surrounding and walk around. We do some fire here and so on. And here I show you, because I have a focus on community gardening, and my experience is that those people who are interested in gardening, they are mostly not only interested in gardening, they are interested in getting to know each other, building a community. So we start with gardening, but out of this group there emerge many other activities, not only about gardening. And this is the Roush garden. And it's I think it's interesting because you can see a plan of the housing, and the garden is really in the middle of this housing, and it's round circles, and so here you can see then one circle which is which was cultivated already. And what was very interesting is that every circle was cultivated by a group of people, and they decided how they want to cultivate the garden. Some divided the circle into pieces, and everyone had a piece and could do whatever he or she wanted with this piece. And here you can see this group decided to cultivate the whole circle together. So there's a part for zucchinis, a part for herbs, a part for tomatoes, and they they cultivate it together, they harvest it together. So different forms of community gardening. This is another community garden, the Schichtgarten. And for example, this was a group where from the gardening group emerged everything. They managed the community room, they made parties, they invited everybody, they did many other activities for the whole neighborhood. And here's interesting because on the first picture on the top, on the left, it doesn't look like garden because it's just really a small, very long soil. There was nothing for a garden, and so we started to dig into this earth, and it was really hard work. You can see people here digging and planting and working really hard. And the positive thing, if they do it, then it's really theirs, because they have worked so hard to get the soil ready for plants to grow there. Then they do, they do a lot so that it will work. And here you can see the beginning on the left, then how much work had to be done, and on the right side you can see some of the results. And for example, this garden, we accompanied this garden group, and then on the left to down you can see two ladies. They overtook the garden, and now they manage the garden. And if there's new people who or some people want maybe to stop gardening, then they organize it, and if there's new people, they organize it, and so they do it themselves, the residents, the garden group. And this is the Nachbarschaftsgarten Florasdorf. Nariman Mansouri knows it. It's a really huge garden, and it's not only for the residents, but also for people from the surrounding urban quarter. So it's a very mixed garden. We have people from everywhere. And first, it's that huge that we really had problems first in the first year to find for every space, every little somebody who wants to cultivate it. Yeah. And finally there was Corona, and then the garden was full. So the people, and we thought in this special case of Corona that gardening was really something where people wanted to be outside, and yeah, there was a big run on gardening projects, and we did also like parties and so on. Okay, another one. Community garden, one of our first community gardening projects. I think I should stop soon. Maybe I come to an end. Yeah, intersection between planning and building and social sustainability, or the process of settlement when people move in. We have this question about accessibility of community rooms. Yeah, for example, in Kabelnhofe, people can use their own key to enter the small community rooms. Yeah, and to make a reservation, if you want to use it for birthday party for your daughter, there's a calendar inside. You just write your name and that's it. For the big community room, you have to talk to, I think it's maybe the facilitator, don't know who it's called, a person who works there, and you do the reservation with this man, and he gives you the keys, and you have to take back the keys there. So you have not, you can't just take your key and go inside and use it. And in other places, there's also digital locking and reservation systems. And I think it's good to have locking and reservation systems, also like digital ones, but not only, because they are always a little bit not so easy accessible. Yeah, because you need to have a computer. You can't just go downstairs and then decide, I want to drink, or I need the toilet. I go into the community room, but you have to go home and do a reservation before, and then you can go inside. So this is, I think it needs also some places with low threshold accessibility, and this is important. Yes, infrastructure, furniture of community rooms, basic furnitures like chairs and tables are necessary, otherwise they don't get used so easily. And important is that infrastructure that cannot be added later, yeah, they have to be fixed already during the process of planning, like climbing walls, mirror walls, sturdy ground, and so on. Yeah, mirror walls, if you want a dancing room, for example. It doesn't happen that property developers fixed it later or put the climbing wall later if it's not from the beginning. Yeah, or sturdy grounds, for example, if you have a place where to repair things, then it's important that you have this sturdy ground so that if something falls down, not everything is broken. Yeah. And from the household to the housing to the urban quarter, I showed you pictures of one residential housing, but in Vienna right now they really built huge urban quarters like they are small cities in a big city. Yeah, and so sometimes it's the case that the new housings all have provide very nice community rooms, a lot of space, and so on. And the old quarters that have been there before already, they had kind of nothing. So you have this problem of sometimes over-provided islands in an under-provided district. And you have to look how, and it's a question also for property developers, how can people who live in an underprovided district around, how can they get access to these overprovided islands and the rooms there, the big community rooms and so on. The last page. I think challenges for settlement processes in new quarters are that participation processes always are a little bit not so easy that they can address everybody. So it needs this low threshold accessibility of participation and community building processes. Because participating is always a question of resources, personal resources, and so-called, from Pierre Bourdieu, social capital. Yeah. So if you have time, if you have money, if you have somebody that looks after your children and so on. And for example, this is just an example, like especially single parents very often don't have so many resources, and it's not so easy for them to participate in a long participation processes. So maybe it needs some special possibilities how they can participate. Yeah, and yeah, this or the last point already mentioned, urban development of quarters, that it really needs a good connection between newly built quarters and so-called old quarters, which mostly have not so many social sustainable community rooms and rooms anyway. That's it. Thank you.
May I just start with the first question?
Yes.
You explained a lot of facilities and activities that have been brought into the settlements to improve the social situation. And as you know, we are working on the Siemensstraße in a settlement from the 50s that was built long before this competitions that included social aspects. Yeah. So there is no infrastructure of that kind at all. And I think if we discuss densification of settlements of that time or the post-war period, then one of the arguments to make it acceptable for the people that are living there and that fear changes is that they gain something surplus, something positive out from that activity, so that they afterwards have facilities that are standard nowadays, but that are not implemented in the past. And my question now is, which facilities do you think that are the most successful ones, the most important ones in these settlements to be retrofitted?
Like facilities like buildings, or
I think both as well. Yeah. Facilities like rooms for activities, for certain activities, like, for example, a library. I don't know if a library is something important, but I just name it as one of the options and one of the structures that are nowadays somehow standard. Or meeting rooms where a huge kitchen is implemented.
Yes. No, I know.
This kind of parties. So this is what I mean.
If we talk about rooms, yeah, and if it's different if there's only one room or many rooms, yeah. If you have many rooms, then you can distinguish and make one library, one children's room, and so on. If it's only one room, I think it has to be multifunctional, yeah. So that it can be used as well as meeting room, as room for children's play or playing, celebrating children's or some other people's birthday, and so on. And what we do is, like, I think it's important that it has some furniture, but not too much. Yeah. For example, if I refuse, for example, if children, if people say they want a billiard and table football, yeah, because those are games, they fulfill the whole room and you can't do anything else. Yeah, you can't move it. A table tennis, you can put it, make it small and put it somewhere and it's gone. And you can have a lot of room where you can dance, where children can play, where you can put tables and you can celebrate and eat together. I think it should at least have a kitchen if it's one room, yeah, so that you can celebrate and cook together and eat together, yeah. You also have to, what's also important is, I don't know the English word, but in new rooms we have sometimes the problem, if you start talking, you can't nearly hear each other because it's so loud, because it's not furnitured, yeah. And here
acoustic.
Acoustic. Thank you. And good acoustic, yeah. Now we furnished a room with Wandteppichen. Yeah, we did some physical measures, yeah.
Wall carpets.
Thank you, wall carpets. So think about this, how you can use it so that you can, and make it a multifunctional room with a lot of space open and some, so that all the people can feel invited, all the different ages, different people feel invited to use the room. Yeah.
Many Baugruppen, Sonja, they have this kind of workshops where they repair the bicycles or other stuff. They have, of course, libraries. They have these meeting rooms because they are already a kind of community before they even start building. So,
and they are interested in community. In other social housings, not everybody is interested in neighborhood and in community. Some are not interested, and it's okay. They just want to live in the flat. Yeah, they don't want to say hello to everybody when they leave the flat and hello to everybody when they come back. They don't want to live in a village, because that's why they maybe moved from the village into the city. They want to live anonymously. Some, yeah, and it has to be also possible. Some look for community, but if not, because for myself, I would also like some anonymity, I have to say. So, and I think Baugruppen, yeah, they already know how they want to live. They want to do in community, and they have to focus on this, and they offer it to others, which is great. Yeah, that's how they want to live. Not everyone wants to live like that. And we have, like, about sharing and living, giving something you don't need anymore, but still is okay to the community or to somebody from the community who wants it. That normally works very well. Like, we don't, to furniture the rooms, we don't buy everything new, and it's not, my opinion, it's not necessary. It's also not that you can imagine this is your living room, because it always will be dirtier than your own living room, because many people use it. Yeah. But yeah, we furnish it also with what people donate, if it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because otherwise it might be the situation that these common spaces are more luxury and more in a higher quality than your private environment. it's social housing. We don't have to forget that. Huh?
Yeah,
So
and
there are also
some are really happy. I had, for example, a woman who donated a real, I think, a very expensive Persian carpet, yeah, to the living room and to the community room, and which is also sad because you can't use it there. It will be dirty and you have to throw it away. Yeah. So
you put it on the wall.
On the wall, yeah.
I bought it from her.
Okay.
I bought it from her because it was, it was too huge for the wall. It was too huge. It was beautiful, and it's not hygienic, yeah, in a community room, yeah. So,
but I know from housing, multi-story buildings in Brazil, is that they usually have a sala de festa, a party room where they have a barbecue and a kitchen, and this is, as the apartments are in many cases quite small, they need this kind of room, or even
that's the community room.
Really more than a room, where they can eat and invite even people from outside. So when you have birthday, your friends can share, come together. And is this the same system?
That's exactly the community room. Yeah. First, they always start with parties, children's party, and they invite all the friends of the children, or your own birthday party, or whatever. And like to organize something for the other neighbors, that's a second step. Doesn't happen so often, but they can be used as those rooms. Yeah, you can invite everybody you want.
Okay.
You just
So
reserve
it's not only for the living there, but also from.
No. You can invite your friends, your family, whoever. You use the room.
Okay, I will stop now with questions because there should also be place for others. And I anyway have to say thank you again, Sonja.
And don't forget public space, like the outside. You can do, if there's no room, inside room, indoor room, there's many possibilities to do things outside. Many to get to know, to make the people get to know each other. I've seen one from Natana Kar. The garden is just a seed for further activities.
It was just a comment. Hello.
Yeah,
so
also because gardening is also very important, and I also get sometimes words like "thank you that we have this possibility," because I feel so rich when I go and harvest my own not potatoes, tomatoes mostly. So it's also very important, this gardening thing. Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah. But it's also a seed.
Yes, exactly. It's very meaningful, this association, and it's for sure I just wait to start getting to know and having further ideas. So I'm a big fan of gardening. I would like to have one.
Me too. I have one.
Yeah, it's a nice presentation, I think, and one of my concern is that so many European people have been developed their own small like garden, that you're showing on your presentations.
Yes.
And what is the actually for them the motivations or advantage by developing the garden? Is that a kind of social activities during their holidays time, or is there any profit on them? Because we know that in Indonesia, maybe some of them call as urban farming, which is very interesting because we sometimes call it kitchen garden or well, medical small garden, which is we can take it for them from the garden and use it for our kitchen, for example. So this is for profit for the family, but sometimes also can be uh, um, sell to. It's not very big amount of money, but at least they happy for that. So what is the motivation of the these people, I mean, community who develop small lot of garden.
Mhm.
Is that common in Europe?
Yeah, normally people don't want to make money out of it. Yeah, it happened once, but it was in a housing and it was in a Gemeindebau. Yeah, where only an old residential housing. Yeah, where only really poor people lived, and was one lady who grew tomatoes, and she, to earn some money, yeah, cooked for a neighbor every day. And she used her own grown vegetables to cook for the neighbor and to gain, and she got money for cooking for him to gain more money. And then I think totally okay. Yeah, people, she needed that, and it's normally we have. Why do the people join? I think because they have the idea that eating their own grown potatoes are really nice, yeah. But we also have, for example, people that start gardening and then they see it's work and not just fun, and then they stop cultivating their little place, their little space. Yeah, that also happens. And normally, not everybody is interested in gardening. I would say in a housing, about 10 to 15 or maybe 20% are interested in gardening. Yeah. And some are really, they have experience. Some start loving gardening. Others see its work and they stop. Yeah. And you always have the discussion that, for example, if there's not enough space and some are waiting for a place where they can gardening, you have the discussion, oh, there is one place nobody cultivate, or they don't cultivate it in a proper way, so can I have this place instead? Yeah. And so we also we talk to the people, yeah, if they really want a place or not, and so on. I
Okay,
don't know if
thank
this
you.
was a answer to your question.
Yeah, yes. Actually, what the current trend of the what is called gardening in Vienna right now,
Yeah.
because yeah, is there any tendency to go to people? You say that only 10 to 15%, yeah, for people who
Mm-hmm.
want to have a gardening, but for the future, because we need some of the ideas of the green concept, which recycle reuse of even small space. So that really proper to keep the concept of improving the motivation to have the gardening surround us.
I don't know if I have understood very well. I think gardening and produce your own food is a really ecologically sustainable thing, yeah. And that people, yeah. And there is also one question about thieves regarding to urban farms. I wouldn't call the gardening projects urban farms. It's too small. And my experience is, of course, sometimes something gets stolen, but normally it's not like that. They steal everything, and I thought that these are really thieves. Yeah, sometimes it happens. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just think it's challenging in general to think about this last challenge, one of the aspects mentioned in the end, about at the same point having the chance to still have some sort of privacy. That some people move to the city, at the same time they want community, but also sometimes this anonymous as the same time. I have this as well. I love this empowering the community, but at the same time, they're just days that I really want to be quiet and not interacting at all. So I think the question, more or less in a strategic way of planning, would be how maybe to provide this sort of, okay, I want to still have some not inside of my house moment, but I still want to be outside. Like, would that be a specific room, or not a room, but a specific space in a complex for that, where I could somehow measure this interaction level? Or I don't know, it's just a curiosity that I think sometimes.
I don't know. I think, for example, when you enter a house, I think it's a difference if you can enter a house only from one way and maybe from the central point, yeah. So everybody can see when you come home, when you leave, if you leave, with whom you leave. I think if it's so village life focused, yeah, then it's mostly for people who live, let's say, a normal or normalized life, yeah, like maybe they are married, have 2 children, and blah blah blah. And so if you don't live like that, if you don't want to live like that, if you get divorced, and if you have, I don't know, 3 lovers, I don't know, then you don't want everybody to know, because it's nobody's business, yeah, how you live. So it's also focused on too much community is very much for people who live in social norms, yeah. And if you don't live like that, then it's more difficult, I think, yeah. So, and I think you can do with planning, you can also give possibilities that you can sneak out, or that you don't have to talk to your neighbors every time you meet him or her for 10 minutes, even though you have no time, yeah. If it's more possibilities, so that you can also have your private life and your be silent, yeah. And in this outside, for example, at Kabelnhofe, I mean, now it's there's a big place between the houses, yeah, big park, let's say, and now the trees and everything is still small, so everybody can see everybody. But this will also change, so that you can have more, like now it's a big space and you can see everything. Later there will be some small spaces where you can also sit, maybe sit alone, yeah, and you can have your own private space in the big space, yeah. So it's also the difficulty of when a building is new, yeah, that the trees are small and everything new, or how the public space is organized is still small, yeah. But normally people also want these also in the public space, yeah, like small play or half public space, semi-public space, small pieces of green where you can sit and maybe talk to your neighbor, but privately, yeah. Nobody should come and start talking with you, and then the other one is coming in, and so on, yeah. So I think this is also important for landscape planning, yeah. Landscape planning in residential housing. In Vienna, for example, if you have a residential building, normally there's no fence around it, yeah. So there is not like for example, the Kabelnhofe, everybody can go through and everybody can use the playground there. Yeah. But even though you have the feeling, oh, I'm going inside somewhere, because it's from its shape, the shape and of the architecture, you go inside, and maybe also like there's people who say, look at you, and so, who are you? Because they know each other. Everybody knows each other, more or less, yeah. But of course, you can go inside and use it. And my experience is, for example, if other parents with children come, normally it's no problem, because you also have the right to invite your friends and be with them in the semi-public space of your house. Mostly it becomes a problem when it's a group of youngsters, yeah, because in Vienna many people are afraid of youngsters. So we also had this problem, for example, at Florersdorf, where Nariman Mansouri did the architecture, and also at Kabelnhofe, when young people showed up and just hang out for a while, then some people were scared. Others were also nice and started talking with them, or yeah, and so on. So, but yeah, there is no fence, you can use it.
Hi, Sonja. I have a question as well. My question is mostly when I notice the project in the suburban, they are have like urban gardening. Do you think it can extend in the future, that the urban gardening can develop into urban farming or even more, or the scale of the suburban doesn't allow us to develop this into a bigger scale? Yeah.
There is many, I don't know, but there is many initiatives with urban gardening in Vienna. But for example, right now, many of the soil which is used now by farmers to grow food, now this soil is used to build residential housing. Yeah. So it is a question also, where shall it be? Yeah. Because there's really a lot of building activities now in Vienna, and in places where there is very nutritious soil. Yeah. I think, as I said, like 10 to 20% of the people are interested in gardening, and let's say from this, half of them, they would also do gardening in a really big dimensions. Others just have the feeling that they don't have enough time to grow more. Yeah. But I also think in future with how ecology develops, I think it will be more necessary. And I support it, because I think it's the shortest way is and the smallest footprint is if you take the food from in front of your door. Yes, it's accessible. Yeah, there is no fences, nothing. Everybody can, even you can just go there and walk through and use everything in the semi-public space. Yeah, and talk to the people, and then you leave, and maybe nobody will even know that you're not living here. And it's mostly like that. There's only some projects that have fences around, yeah. And it's interesting because also like the property developers normally have no interest in making fences. And for example, we had this discussion, or for many years in the jury, if you wanted to make a fence around your own small garden, you rent a flat with a small garden, yeah, and the jury didn't accept that there would be a fence around your small garden. Yeah. But of course, people then started to build a fence, because not only to show that's mine and not yours, but if you want to use it with a, let's say, a small child or a dog, yeah, and this small child or the dog can always run away and never stays inside the fence, yeah, then it's not so easy to use for you, for example, yeah. So there is, we call it Mietergärten, yeah, they can have a fence around, yeah, but the public space for the house, for the housing, this is for everybody, also from outside. My experience is sometimes it happens that somebody takes one of your zucchinis, yeah, but it's not like in general that everything is stolen. It's always a question when a garden starts and people are afraid that all their fruits will be stolen. I think it doesn't happen very often. Sometimes, of course, yeah, but not always and not very often, yeah. And if there's sometimes it happens when the project is starting and maybe not every soil is cultivated. It doesn't look nice yet. When it's established, yeah, this is also with all kind of social projects. In the beginning, there's, for example, I used to work in a shelter for homeless people, and in the beginning they had to call every day the police, yeah, because something happened. And after, when it was established, after let's say 1 year, 1.5 years, then everybody knew the rules. Nobody wanted to try out what's possible and not, and then it worked. And that's with gardens as well. Like in Florasdorf, in the community garden there, we had problem. I wouldn't say problem, but there were young people who were playing with the ball in the so-called underground, yeah, under the highway, and they came there to drink, to take water and to drink, yeah, into the garden, and they jumped over the fence and so on. Yes, and people complained and also said, yeah, they also stories like they're peeing on our vegetables and so on. Nobody ever saw it, yeah. But like now, there's no more, doesn't happen anymore, yeah, or very rarely, yeah. And sometimes they just let some of the young people in to take water. There's also a water pipe outside. They know now, the young people. And sometimes we talk, and yeah, they already used that there's a community garden. They were here before, they were the first, and now they've accepted, okay, there's a community garden. And if something is stolen, you can't do anything. It's gone. It's a community garden, and it's not always somebody, doesn't have to be anybody from outside. It can also be your gardening neighbor. Who knows?
Neighbor
Yes.
who need a zucchini to cook,
Yes.
and the supermarket is closed already.
Yeah. But I also have kind of not a community garden, a little bit different, but also when my first kürbis was stolen, oh, I was very sad. And I told it to everybody so they at least they know and watch my piece of soil. Yeah.